should I go,
Go
Sergeant?
away. Go
Sergeant.
away now.
Sergeant,
Go
where should I
away
go?
now.
Sergeant, I'm asking, where should I go?
Just go away. I don't care where you go. Go away.
Okay.
Go away. Go away.
Okay.
Give me this. What's your name?
Phil?
Philip?
Is there anything else?
Because I want you to go away and not stand here and argue with me. Otherwise, you're about to get locked up.
That's okay. I should where you want me to go.
Away. All right? Leave. Leave.
So I can't film
No,
this scene?
leave.
Why can't I film
Leave.
this?
Because it's a current investigation and you're leaving.
I'm walking
That's
away,
why.
Sergeant. Sergeant, I'm
All
walking
right?
away.
You're going away.
Okay, I'm walking away, but I'm asking you,
Because
where
it's
can I stand
because it's an active scene and you're leaving.
Okay, where can I stand
All right?
to
No
film
place.
this? I can't
Go
film
away.
this.
No.
Okay, all right. You treat me like this? I mean, I'm not in the crime scene or...
That's why.
Okay. Well, should I call PIO and see what they want?
For all I care, you're going away.
Okay.
You understand? I've been doing this for 30 years. There's nothing you can hold over my head or anybody out there.
I didn't ask
Go
you to
away.
over your head. I just asked
All
you
right?
to go to film the scene, and you tell me I can't film it
You
anywhere?
can't. No.
Okay. Sergeant, I called PIO. They told me to go back to the
Put
where
it
the
down.
road's open.
Put it down. Put it down. Put it down. You're under arrest. You're under arrest.
The public and the press have a First Amendment right to record police when they are conducting business in a public place and where the individual making the recording has a legal right to be present. Included in this training are 2 brief videos that are meant to stimulate thought and discussion about the dynamics of these police-public encounters. These videos are readily available on social media and are used for educational purposes only. The goal of this video is to define the constitutional rights the public has to record the police and the limitations on those rights. This video will explore recommended police strategies for these situations and define when it is legal to seize recording devices. Police officers can anticipate that their actions and behaviors are being recorded anytime they are in public. Social media allows recording parties to post their videos or photos on the internet almost instantly. The First Amendment protects the public's freedom of speech. Just like journalists, the public has the right to observe, record, and report on the activities of police officers. But this right is not absolute. First, the individual must be in a public space or a location where he or she has a legal right to be present. Public spaces are typically places that are legally accessible and open to the public. The right to record may also be limited by what are referred to as reasonable time, place, and manner restrictions. For example, people have a right to express themselves in public, but not any time they please, and so they may be lawfully barred from certain streets and sidewalks during certain times of the day. Place restrictions may be imposed on public spaces, such as when a convention center is closed to the public for an event. The individual must have a legal right to be present. People may not trespass on private property in order to record. Manner restrictions may be imposed on how free speech is expressed. This often pertains to what is referred to as symbolic speech. Protesters who want to express themselves by camping in public parks may be prohibited in order to protect the park from damage and to ensure free access to the general public. While the public has a right to record police, the police also have to perform their job in a safe and effective manner. There may be reasons why an individual, even though legally present, may be barred by police from an otherwise public place. Recording parties cannot position themselves in a place that would create a danger to themselves or others. This could include such actions as standing on an active highway or getting in the way of emergency responders. Individuals cannot enter a scene that has been lawfully marked or designated, physically or verbally, by a police officer. However, if a scene is cordoned off, it must be off limits to all unauthorized persons, not just persons who are recording. Finally, recording parties cannot materially interfere with police actions or duties. Interference with police operations has to be based on conduct that materially inhibits, obstructs, delays, or in other ways negatively affects police operations. Interference has to be more than the fact that a recording person is annoying to the officer. The act of recording does not constitute interference or obstruction and does not provide grounds for an officer to interfere or intervene. Without an objective, articulable reason, officers cannot block, obstruct, or coerce recording individuals or threaten them with law violations. When there is a legitimate case of material interference, the best course of action is to direct the recording party to move to another location within a reasonable distance that will allow them to record without interfering. Where justified for officer safety and protection of a crime or incident scene, perimeters can be established. Perimeters should not be established in a manner or at such a distance as a pretext to prevent persons from recording police activity. Officers may wish to shield victims from public scrutiny or recording. Officers should move victims to a private area or shield them in some way from the recording party. Intentionally blocking only those with cameras is not permissible. Cameras are everywhere, and officers should conduct themselves as though they are being recorded whenever they are in public. Often, people who are recording try and engage officers in discussion or debate. Officers should ignore inflammatory, taunting, or harassing comments and should consider responses that will allow them to disengage in a polite but professional manner. For example, officers can often diffuse the situation by acknowledging that the person has a right to record police activity, informing the individual that he or she may not interfere with the arrest, investigation, or other police activity, and if the recording party is materially interfering, instructing him or her to move back to a reasonable distance or location. Finally, the officer may ask if the individual would like to speak with a supervisor. Let's look at another video example.
He didn't just kick the cell phone, he also stomped on it, according to this woman. She's an elementary school teacher, Beatrice Paez. She was out on a stroll on Sunday, just out exercising, and she saw some police activity in her neighborhood. She said the first thing she thought of were the confrontations that were caught by citizens in South Carolina and New York. So she whipped out her cell phone and started recording. She was 4 to 5 houses away. One of the officers broke away from the police incident, approached her, told her to stop recording. She said, "Hey, look, I'm on a public sidewalk." Here's how she says all of this unraveled.
Then I kind of moved this way because I wanted to protect the phone, the footage. And that's when you see me struggling to keep this. And of course, he grabbed it away from me. We were struggling and he yanked it from me. He dropped it on the ground. He stomped on it many times, kicked it, and kicked my bottle, broke it. And then he said, "There's your phone."
Doing anything wrong?
I don't think so. This is my right. It's my right. It's my constitutional right to film. And I was on a public sidewalk.
Now that officer is learning that everybody has a cell phone. Everyone is going to record everything.
One of the most extreme means of stopping people from recording is to seize their recording device, the device's media card, or similar recording medium, or both. Such seizures are presumed to be a violation of the Fourth Amendment. In 2014, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that the search incident to arrest exception to the warrant requirement does not provide officers with grounds to search the contents of a person's cell phone. So, under what, if any, circumstances can a recording device be seized? A search warrant is always the preferred method for obtaining evidence of any crime. Absent a lawful arrest, seizures performed without a warrant are presumed to be illegal unless they can be fully justified based on a legitimate exception to the warrant requirement. Even with a warrant or court order, photos, video, or audio recordings contained on the device must never be deleted, destroyed, or altered. Officers may not order the person engaged in recording or a third party to do so. There are only 2 exceptions to the warrant requirement. One is when an officer has probable cause to believe that the recording contains evidence of a serious crime, particularly crimes of violence involving serious injury or death. The officer may be authorized to detain the individual and wait for a supervisor to determine if there is sufficient reason to obtain a warrant. A second situation is when an officer has probable cause to believe that information on a recording could prevent imminent death or serious bodily harm. In these cases, immediate viewing of the recordings without a warrant may be allowed when it is objectively reasonable to believe that the viewing is necessary to prevent death or serious bodily harm of another before a warrant can be issued. Before resorting to a seizure, it's best to ask the owner for his or her consent to view the photos or videos. If the recording seems valuable, the owner should then be asked if they would permit the police to take temporary custody of the recording device to make a copy. Officers can also ask the owner if he or she would be willing to forward a copy of the recording to an email address at the police agency. If the recording party does not consent, and the officer still feels that the recordings are critical to an investigation, the individual may be temporarily detained and the assistance of a supervisor requested. If the supervisor agrees that the recording should be viewed and possibly copied, a search warrant should be obtained, and the owner should be given a copy of the warrant and issued a property receipt for the seized items. The property should be kept by the department for the minimum time necessary, and only copies of relevant recordings may be made. The recording or any other media on the device shall never be deleted, altered, or destroyed. Let's recap. The public has a First Amendment right to record public officials, including the police, when conducting business in public. They may also post their recordings on any public forum of their choice. There are some restrictions to the right to record. Nearly all seizures and searches of recording devices require a court order or warrant. Without a warrant, seizures must be based on exigent circumstances. Alternatively, officers should ask the individual if they can view the recording, if it can be copied, or whether they will consent to send the recording to a police department email address. This training course is the product of work performed by the International Association of Chiefs of Police with funding from the U.S. Department of Justice, Office of Community-Oriented Policing Services, otherwise known as the COPS Office. We extend our thanks to the COPS Office, to the law enforcement professionals who provided valuable assistance on the project's advisory board, and to the numerous other specialists who contributed to the content of this presentation.